He called fire from the sky, he challenged kings, and he vanished into heaven in a storm of fire. But what if I told you that the story of Elijah isn't just ancient history? It's a message for you today. Stay until the end, because you will miss the secret Elijah left behind, a secret that could change the way you see your own faith, courage, and destiny. This is the story of the fire prophet. No one saw him coming. No royal blood, no fame, no powerful family. Just a man from the wilderness, Elijah of Tishbe. He appears suddenly, like a thunderbolt in the dark sky of Israel's history. At that time, Israel was ruled by King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. They were wealthy, feared, and utterly corrupt. Jezebel had imported the worship of Baal, a pagan god of storms and fertility. Temples of gold filled the land. Altars bled with sacrifices. The people of Israel had turned their backs on the God of their fathers, and into that world of idolatry, violence, and lies walks one man, alone. Elijah steps through the palace gates, past guards and courtiers, and into the throne room of Ahab himself. The king sits surrounded by idols, the air thick with incense. Elijah's voice cuts through the haze. As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, there will be neither dew nor rain in this land until I say so. The room falls silent. No one dares to move. Ahab's eyes burn with rage, but before the king can even speak, Elijah is gone. And so begins the drought. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and the land begins to die. Rivers dry up, crops fail, and people whisper Elijah's name with hatred and fear. While the kingdom suffers, the prophet hides by a small brook called Cherith. There, ravens bring him bread and meat every morning and evening. Even in the middle of a famine, God provides. But the drought worsens. The brook dries up. The ground cracks open like broken glass. The gods of Baal remain silent. Then one day, Elijah hears a whisper in his spirit. Go to Zarephath. I have commanded a widow there to feed you. He travels north to a foreign village, where smoke from dying fires rises into the air. At the gate, he meets a woman gathering sticks. She looks exhausted, her eyes hollow. Bring me a little water, he says gently. She hesitates, but obeys. Then Elijah adds, and bring me a piece of bread. She stops, her voice trembling. I have only a handful of flour and a little oil. I'm preparing our last meal for me and my son. After that, we'll die. Elijah steps closer. Do not be afraid. Make me a small cake first. Then make some for yourself and your son. For the Lord says, the jar of flour will not run out, and the jug of oil will not run dry. She stares at him. Something in his eyes tells her to trust. She obeys, and the miracle happens. Day after day, the flour jar stays full, and the oil keeps flowing. But soon, tragedy strikes. Her son falls ill and stops breathing. The widow's grief turns to fury. Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son? She cries. Elijah takes the boy from her arms and carries him upstairs. He lays him on the bed and cries out to God. Lord, let this child's life return to him. He stretches himself over the boy 3 times and prays. Silence. Then, a breath. The child opens his eyes. The widow's tears turn to awe. Now I know that you are a man of God. Months pass. The drought continues. Then God sends Elijah back to confront Ahab. When the king sees him, he shouts, Is that you, you troubler of Israel? Elijah's voice is steady. I have not troubled Israel. You and your father's house have, because you've abandoned the Lord. The prophet challenges the king to a showdown on Mount Carmel, one god against another, one prophet against hundreds. The rules are simple. 2 altars, 2 sacrifices. The God who answers with fire, he is God. The people gather to watch. 450 prophets of Baal cry out from morning until evening. They dance, cut themselves, and scream for their God to answer. Blood runs down their bodies, but nothing happens. Elijah steps forward, mocking them. Shout louder. Maybe he's sleeping. Maybe he's on a trip. The sun begins to set. The crowd grows silent. Elijah repairs the broken altar of the Lord using 12 stones, one for each tribe of Israel. He digs a trench around it, lays the wood, and places the sacrifice on top. Then he does something insane. He pours water over everything again and again until the trench is full. He raises his hands. Answer me, O Lord, so that these people may know that you are God. And then it happens. A flash of light tears the sky. Fire falls from heaven and consumes everything: the bull, the wood, the stones, even the water in the trench. The crowd collapses to the ground, shouting, "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" Ahab is speechless, but Jezebel's rage burns hotter than the flames. She swears vengeance. By this time tomorrow, Elijah will be dead. The prophet who once stood fearless before a king now flees into the desert broken and afraid. He walks until his strength fails, collapses under a tree, and prays, "It is enough, Lord, take my life." Then, in the silence of despair, an angel touches him. "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." Elijah opens his eyes. Beside him lies freshly baked bread and a jar of water. He eats, rests, and then walks for 40 days and nights through the wilderness until he reaches Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. Inside a cave, Elijah waits for the Lord. A mighty wind tears the rocks apart, but God is not in the wind. Then comes an earthquake, but God is not in the earthquake. Then a fire, but God is not in the fire. And after the fire, a gentle whisper. Elijah covers his face. A voice asks, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He pours out his heart. "I have been very zealous for you, Lord, but I am alone." The whisper answers, "You are not alone. Go, anoint Elisha as prophet after you." Elijah leaves the cave, renewed. He finds Elisha plowing in a field with 12 oxen. Without a word, Elijah walks up and throws his cloak over him. The meaning is clear: the mantle of prophecy, the passing of purpose. Elisha stops, runs after him, and says, "Let me follow you." For years, the two walk together, teacher and disciple, fire and promise. Elisha watches as Elijah performs miracles, heals, and speaks truth to power. But one day, Elijah knows his time is near. He tells Elisha, "Stay here." But Elisha refuses. "As the Lord lives, I will not leave you." They reach the Jordan River. Elijah rolls up his cloak and strikes the water. It parts, and they cross on dry ground. On the other side, Elijah turns and asks, "What can I do for you before I am taken away?" Elisha replies, "Please let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." Elijah nods. "You have asked a difficult thing, but if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours." The wind begins to rise. The ground trembles. Suddenly, a chariot of fire appears, drawn by horses of flame. It rushes between them, and Elijah is lifted up by a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha cries out, my father, the chariot of Israel!" And then silence. The prophet of fire is gone. But as Elisha stands alone, something flutters down from the sky. Elijah's cloak, the mantle, the symbol of power, faith, and legacy. Elisha picks it up, walks back to the Jordan, and strikes the water. Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah? The waters part again. The legacy lives on. Centuries later, Elijah reappears beside Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration, shining with that same heavenly fire. His story refuses to die. Elijah's fire wasn't destruction, it was purification, a call to wake up, to stand alone if necessary, to believe when everyone else bows to false gods. His courage wasn't always loud, it was rooted in the quiet whisper of faith. and maybe that same fire is waiting inside you. The courage to stand for truth, to obey when it's hard, to listen for that still, small voice. If this story moved you, don't let it fade. Hit that like button, share your thoughts about Elijah in the comments, and click subscribe for more extraordinary stories from the Bible, because the next one might just change your faith forever.